Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktarinda Ki Jai Samavira Bhaktarinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda All Doris the Assembly All Doris the Assembly All Doris the Assembly All Doris the Shri Shri Guru Shri Guru Doris So, decoration. Anyway, you don't need it. There's nobody in the kitchen. A little bit. Just a little bit.
Oscar might be working in kitchen with some food. Huh? I think Oscar is working with some food working in kitchen.
So as usually on this Srila Prabhupada Katha session, the idea is to bring Srila Prabhupada more and more close into our lives, because even with the distance of time, it becomes more and more visible how essential it is to understand Srila Prabhupada as a person, his teachings, his way to present Krishna consciousness. The whole spirit of this movement is embodied in Srila Prabhupada. And it did start from nothing, but only because of one reason, and that's because of Srila Prabhupada's ultimately sincere desire to serve his spiritual master, but also about Srila Prabhupada's most dynamic personality, how he entered people's lives, you could say entered people's hearts. Brain, well, there was not so much brain to start with. Prabhupada said sometimes simply cow dung. There's no brain from cow dung. We are giving brain. So that intelligence manifested gradually. But the initial impulse for these hippies to join, actually Srila Prabhupada, was simply on the level of the heart. Because Prabhupada somehow could, and he pointed out again and again, he said that there is a soul as a fact, and that there is a Krishna as a fact. So now it's only the question how to actually get through the covering of the soul, and then everything comes out. It's like you dig for gold. It's just only a question where to dig, how to dig, and finally there's gold. You didn't create the gold, it's already there. It's just a question how to discover and bring it forth. And that's where the challenge is. Therefore Srila Prabhupada is unique, because he could bring out that spirit and that nature of the soul out of the immense conditioning of all these, as he said in 1977, on his deathbed, he opened his eyes and he said, everybody is crazy. You too, just a little bit differently. So this is how conditioned, we all are from spiritual point of view. We are all mad, we are crazy. We are moved by the modes of nature in such a way that it's completely incompatible to our spiritual nature. As we know from the description of Vaikuntha, every step is a dance, every word is poetry. The dealings and the exchanges between those who are active already in Vaikuntha planets, not to speak of Goloka down, are of such a spontaneous spiritual nature that now being covered and twisted by this conditioning, we are really like zombies. We are like remote control gizmos as the material nature is pushing us around. So therefore you find this incredible humility even in such amazing devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gopisham Babaji and Narottam, and all these amazing devotees devotees, but they really mean it when they say, I'm just a dog, I'm just, I'm the most fallen one. Because they absorb this whole impact of this material energy around them, what Maya can actually do to people. So by his intense personal attention, but that's what sparked their interest. I mean, people don't want to admit that. Sometimes the females, they have more easy access because they are able sometimes simply to unconditionally to put the heart out, And when it's in the right place, in the right person, then it's the same effect. All feminists would be pleased. Today I just read a letter that Prabhupada declared men and women in Krishna consciousness being equal. As long as they engage in devotional service, and as long as they follow the instruction of the spiritual master. That's the condition. That's the real feminism. That's the real liberation. You want to be equal? Come on, engage in devotional service. Come on, follow the instruction of spiritual master. And when you study Srila Prabhupada's letters, today, somewhat, I don't know, we arrived with Lalitanath Prabhu exactly on the same part of studying Srila Prabhupada's letters in 1969, where the movement was actually created. Prabhupada, I'm not recommending new devotees to do that, but it's an interesting study when you study how Prabhupada maintained this movement by mail, by maintaining 16 centers, going back and forth. Not all the letters are probably preserved, but many. But even those that are preserved document how he must have written at least 5-6 letters a day to one center, and then this center, and that center, and this. His attention to those devotees who started the centers was so intense that he even writes in a letter, he didn't write me anything since 1 week. What happened? He wrote more letters to them as they could write to him back. And that, along the translation work, that along the preaching work, that along the traveling, how he did that is completely impossible. How aware he was of these devotees. Now from 1969, from these letters, you may very likely get the impression that this is a Grihastha movement. Because Prabhupada, it seems, from the letters, he preached only through Grihasthas. Like I copy very relevant issues from these letters, and I have a department in Grihastha Ashrama. So most of the quotes are from this. And Prabhupada said it very openly. He said, my Guru Maharaj preached to sannyasis and brahmacharis. I'm preaching to Grihasthas. He had this concept, therefore he was later on so disappointed. That's another issue. What happened then with the Grihasthas? But this idea of husband and wife opening a preaching center, and Prabhupada writes, in one letter he writes, this was never done before. He said, even our great acharyas, and there are Grihasthas among them, you never hear much about the wives. Because they were sitting at home in the back lines, maintaining the household, which is a powerful contribution, but you never see them, climbing up the Vyasasans in front, and we don't have a picture. Sorry for all the feminists, but we don't have a picture of one woman on the altar, except Radharani, there's nobody there. Sorry. So that's how it is. But that doesn't mean they were not there. But it was in a culture context, it was kept and it was not really needed. But in this Western culture, Prabhupada is something completely. Most of these letters to this new preachings and this up to Grihastha course. Even those who later on took sannyas, they were by that time still married, including Krishna Maharaj, Hansatrika, all this Upanuga, all this, who started the centers, and Prabhupada really liked the concept. He goes, he's always, anybody who gets an idea to get married, Prabhupada blessed it. You'll be amazed. There's so many blessings those days for Grihasthas. My God, there was even one devotee who writes to him, Prabhupada, I also want to get married, but the girl is not initiated yet. Actually, she's just like coming and helping in a temple. Prabhupada said, well, that's a little bit controversial in today's context. Prabhupada said, we cannot marry uninitiated people, ISKCON devotees. But She is very nice, coming to the temple. Get her initiated as fast as possible. Then we can make the official marriage. In the meanwhile, you make a legal marriage. Go to sing. You have my blessing for that. And as you can see, I have a long list of Grihastha couples who are already opening preaching centers. I would expect you to do the same. Immediately that was welcome to Grihastha Ashrama. Get out and open a preaching center. This was like connected. And there's so many letters like this. But Prabhupada is always like, and I have a personal experience from the days I used to preach with my wife. I have not one complaint. It's a powerful thing. Because calm is like, what do you want to say? Something about fanatical monks or what? And I tell you quite frankly, when women get fired up to preach, they can just knock out things. You cannot do that. They can tell these things to people. I mean, you would get them angry. But when a Mataji just looks at them and say, this is your lust. It's not this body, you are a lusty fool. And the man goes, oh, boss, it's amazing how women can knock out the false ego. But when a man comes like this, then the man-on-man contact, it's very easy, the false ego is sparked. Yeah? Because the men always feel they have to prove to each other something. They have to always prove themselves to the other man. But they don't want to be humiliated by women, especially when they are very lusty. It's amazing. I mean, we know the Mohini Murti Leela, biggest demons of the universe, and they were completely idiots. Of course, Mohini Murti was Krishna himself, but still, the example is there. So Prabhupada saw all this potential there. And he was like, I'm not saying this is not a Grihastha advertisement session here, but it's amazing in 69 how Prabhupada really started this movement. It was whole London, whole England was started by 3 Grihastha couples. And Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj and sannyasis to England, the only thing they could bring back, it's one whipping chair for Bhaktisiddhanta. This hammock, you sit in a garden and you whip. Bhaktisiddhanta was so angry. He said, so much money was spent. They couldn't collect any money. So they were financed from India to go to London and preach. And the only thing he said they bring back is a whipping chair. He was so furious. Prabhupada said, I and Sri Grihastha couples, we have a new temple in England. George Harrison is paying the first print of my Krishna book. We have actually one temple in London, one temple outside, and that in a relatively very, very short time. So Prabhupada was really showing what it means to be connected to Krishna. But when you see the intensity, and that is something we can learn from Prabhupada, the intensity to paying attention to anybody who could be useful in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, who proves to be useful and who can be useful. That sounds a kind of little bit impersonal. You look for people who can be used, But in context with Krishna consciousness, it's not like this at all. Because that includes automatically all the personal aspects. The problem is that this material world is powered, as Prabhupada summarized it in his books, by fear of personal identity. That's the reason why Mayavada is so successful and so popular. Even it's completely idiotic, it doesn't make any sense. It's completely contradictory to our nature. But it's a very popular excuse to not reveal oneself, because personal means there will be revelation, it will be exposed. And there is nothing more exposing as Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada once compared us with peeling the onion, just like this, like we don't eat onion, but you peel it, the different layers, so the conditioning is peeled off. And then along with the peeling process, the purification process, so many things come. Things the worst, it's not what people say, what we fear, it's what they don't say. That kind of silence, we don't want to come out. And this is what Prabhupada brought out with such an amazing sensitivity. I mean, speaking to people who could be his grandchildren, already there you have a sometimes difference. Difficult. Old people, young people, it's very difficult communication sometimes. Didn't play any role. You see, people are more excited about Prabhupada talking to them as another hippie talking to them. Even he was in the age of the grandfather. They didn't know him as a grandfather. they saw him, Prabhupada could be so close and simultaneously so far. This was the amazing experience when he came close to Prabhupada. He could be concerned about that you have no proper socks, you have chilly feet. You could be concerned about such a thing. You think, my God, this is like, like Prabhupada interrupted once a lecture. Look at the temple president sitting there aside, and he said, it's chilly here. They are very little dressed. It was in Canada. And the temple president said, Prabhupada, we are here in North Canada, we are used to this climate. It's the same level like Scandinavia. So we are used to cold climate. Prabhupada said, they are freezing. They are all cold here. So you make sure everybody is dressed. This is your responsibility. Oh, we are austere, we can take it. They have to be dressed. They are chilly, they are cold, they get sick. In the middle of the lecture, I just interrupted the whole thing. So, this was just overwhelming. How Prabhupada was just comforting, how he came close, and simultaneously, there was another Prabhupada there in my country doing his thing. You always have the feeling that it's a person who just came to visit you. And he's a very nice visitor, very concerned, very helping. But he is in his own. He's in the spiritual world. And later on, in the last special in 1977, that came out. Prabhupada couldn't restrain this anymore. So he started, lose control because he was just more and more suddenly in the spiritual world doing his thing with Krishna. And that is considered even in Shastra described. Such a person may look even like a madman from a material point of view. Because he's not concerned with this material, social relationship. He's not obliged. Prabhupada, the devotee is not obliged. Just because somebody wants me to join him like that and be nice. You ever heard this? Be nice. Don't be heavy. Be nice. So that doesn't mean the devotee has to follow that. It's very dangerous to please people who have, material motivations because they will just draw you into that. It's one of the reasons why in Kali Yuga it's not recommended to have many disciples because all people have that tendency to drag you into their karmic fields and they can completely, cover you up. You can get completely polluted like this. Today I found a quote from Srila Sundara Prabhu. It's actually in Bhagavatam, in the third canto. I didn't notice that. How Prabhupada is very particular, warning devotees not to associate with materialistic, motivated devotees. Not karmic devotees. It's like, woof. So one has to be careful. This material world is a very infectious place. So Prabhupada, by his personal attention, I already read this, I think, recently, but this is just to start. How Prabhupada writes to Krishnadas, who I still remember, one of the very, very first pioneers in German preaching. No letter from you is useless. Obviously, Krishna wrote him, sorry I'm writing so much, I'm babbling here, but I have to tell you, there are many letters like this, kind of sentimental, natural. So Prabhupada writes, no letter from you is useless for me. They are all important. And you can write as long a letter as you can. I shall read them carefully with attention in spite of my various duties always. Just imagine you read such a thing, Prabhupada was there, Did this kind of encouragement, devotees could take anything. Any amount of opposition out there on the street, any amount of austerity, didn't matter. So, there are so many things, different subjects. As I said before, it's nice if it can be a bit interactive. If you have some particular interest about some issue, I may probably find a quote on that from Prabhupada by now. As a matter of fact, probably I could quote Prabhupada on anything. I had already such a collection from the letters alone, but I left it in Czech Republic behind sentimentally for a devotee who was bought my house in Czech Republic, and he said, hey, I want this one condition, I will buy your house, but that collection of these letters, I want to, it comes along with that. So there was a few files of these letters already sorted out, so I lost it like this. So now I'm plowing through this again to put again the whole thing together. It's very interesting what you get from Prabhupada on the issues you wouldn't imagine he commented on. You wouldn't imagine what Prabhupada commented. So this is basically what we want to do a little bit, to go outside of the standard, 10,000 years, Prabhupada said, for the next 10,000 years explanation you find in his books. Then there is this kind of very, very personal features you find in his letters. And like I said, I'm not recommending you devotees reading that, because it takes a little discrimination, a little bit understanding in a context with history of ISKCON, how things worked. And these letters are also of a very personal nature, and very, you could call them even subjective to a particular person. But still, there are so many essential lessons to be learned from it. Yeah?
Why was Prabhupada so encouraging about Grihastha Ashram, that his disciple entered Grihastha Ashram?
Oh, it's quite simple to understand. He's the whole form we are. He's all, just look around. You know how difficult it is to maintain brahmacharya in this age? Or sannyas, as a matter of fact. This is very difficult. Invest. In India, a little bit more easy. A little bit more easy, because there's still a culture background with it. Here, in the West, what? Monk? It's finished. Who? The only place I ever saw is still something like this reverse eternal. Otherwise, it's finished. It's, monk, you're nuts. Isn't you a psychiatrist? It's just, you can't relate to it. What, monk? What? You have no fun in life, it's finished. You're dead. So, I'm myself wondering why actually even devotees take sannyas and preach in the West. Personally, that's just my personal thing. I don't understand this. What does it do? That the Maharaj comes here and gets to and Jaya Maharaj and Bye Bye Maharaj. This is a quote from a sannyasi who used to preach in Denmark. He said, I'm tired of this Jaya Maharaj, Bye Bye Maharaj. I'm here and we are going to do something together, and he really did, He really tormented the Danish nation quite a lot. And the result was amazing. Never before and never after Denmark was so productive in Krishna consciousness, but I'm not recommending this. I don't think it's sustainable today to do such a thing. But he was really intense. He really went and abused the Danish nation really good. And then they start to move around, The lectures were loaded. You were around, you remember him still? You were around, isn't it?
The longest is from?
Yeah.
Oh.
No?
Before.
You came after?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you really missed something.
I know.
Yeah, everybody's crying in the lecture. He was so bright and so sharp, he could just take it apart right away in the lecture. You felt completely naked, it was completely exposed. I don't know if this is actually, possible. Personally, I maybe not even have shared the mood. I didn't see Prabhupada doing this, in the lectures, taking people apart. But personally, like in a private contact, that was intense. That was intense. Prabhupada could really take her apart. There was nowhere to hide. There was nothing. Because he just could look right away in your heart. He could see things even we couldn't see. So, Prabhupada, I think you may call it subjective observation, but Prabhupada saw what a state we are. Like example, the background we come from, men, women, and it's all mixed up here. So what? Brahmachari, 20 years old Brahmachari has a history of sex life like a 100 years old man in Denmark. It's like, wow. We stopped counting, we don't even know with whom we slept last night. That's the background we come from. So what do you do, my Brahmachari, with that? From one day to another, just like that? That will be difficult. Because the sex life is so addictive. It's worse like hashish, it's worse like anything. It's just, it's so addictive. The taste of rape. It's nothing else, it's rape. This is when it's this illegitimate sex life. It's heavy. Once you taste it, that blood and that, carnival,